World War II, humanity's darkest nightmare. 100 powerful historical photos are about to be revealed. Drop a one if you're ready to watch this video all the way through with me. German prisoners of war were marched by U.S. troops through Aachen's shattered streets, a stark scene revealing the city's devastation and Germany's crumbling defenses in October 1944. In August 1944 at Montélimar, a woman had her head shaved for collaborating with the Nazis, a haunting image of social retribution following the German retreat. Slave laborers at Buchenwald concentration camp were photographed as soldiers of the U.S. 81st Division entered, exposing the horrors of Nazi crimes in April 1945. A French collaborator was executed by firing squad in Rennes, a chilling reminder of wartime justice and retribution carried out in November 1944 after liberation. In 1945, Hiroshima lay in ruins after the atomic bombing, a haunting image that forever marked the unprecedented destructive power of modern warfare. Japan's representatives signed the surrender documents aboard USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, a momentous ceremony that officially ended World War II in September 1945. American F-4U and F-6F aircraft flew in formation above USS Missouri, the skies alive with Allied triumph and pageantry during Japan's surrender in 1945. In August 1945, American troops in Paris held a special Paris Post edition, celebrating Japan's surrender with jubilation as the war's end brought sudden relief. Allied POWs at Aomori Camp near Yokohama in August 1945 cheered their U.S. Navy liberators, gaunt faces suddenly lifted by freedom and the promise of survival after years of captivity. In Times Square, New York, Americans celebrated Japan's surrender with spontaneous embraces, an iconic kiss capturing the relief and joy of victory in August 1945. Drop a one if you like this photo. This is a Type 97 Kate, the main attack aircraft, taking off from the carrier Shikoku on its way to Pearl Harbor in December 1941. A Japanese bomber filled the foreground of an aerial image taken by a pilot over Pearl Harbor, the attack unfolding below like clockwork, December 1941, that morning. In that harsh context, the destroyer USS Shaw's forward magazines erupted during the second wave, a towering fireball showing how swiftly surprise turned ships and steel into shrapnel. The destroyer USS Shaw's forward magazines detonated after a bombing run. In December 1941, flames and debris clawed skyward, a violent punctuation to the harbor's chaos. Sailors stood among capsized seaplanes at Ford Island's base, watching USS Shaw explode against the horizon. The war's shock made unmistakably real for witnesses. December 1941. The battleship USS California listed to port after torpedo and bomb hits near Ford Island. Fuel slicks ringed her hull, signature chaos of the surprise attack. Not stopping there, the photo recreates the image of sailors on the aircraft carrier Shokaku shouting "Banzai" as the Type 97 Kate takes off for the second wave. a death blow before the Hawaiian skies wailed with sirens. As smoke still lingered over Hawaii, gunners on USS Avocet scanned the skies. A scene of confusion after the Pearl Harbor disaster in December 1941. An aerial photo revealed U.S. naval might at East Lock and Ford Island in May 1940. But just a year later, the same setting turned into a battlefield inferno. Sailors pulled a survivor beside the sunken USS West Virginia, a haunting testament to the chaos and shock of Japan's assault on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Dry Dock 1 became a steel graveyard after the raid ended, with USS Downs and USS Cassin sinking before USS Pennsylvania, a tragedy that scarred America. A sailor's body washed ashore on Kanuhi Bay, a grim reminder that not only Pearl Harbor, but nearby bases endured devastation, all of it unfolding in December 1941. Senior officers listened intently aboard ship as Roosevelt's historic speech declared war, and in December 1941, America formally entered World War II. A Hudson McThieg swept over Egypt's pyramids, proof that in 1942, the war stretched deep into the Middle East, where ancient history collided with modern conflict. Aboard HMS Tribune, Royal Navy sailors played cards to pass time in 1942 when the underwater war turned into a dangerous and drawn-out struggle. USS Arizona burned fiercely at Pearl Harbor, and in December 1941, nearly half of the 2,341 dead remained aboard that doomed battleship. On April 1945, over 60,000 U.S. troops stormed Okinawa, the Pacific's final battle, where America lost 12,000 men, while Japan endured hundreds of thousands of deaths. Leave a 1 in the comments below if you like this video and my delivery. In December 1942, Stalingrad became a furnace of death, with over 1 million Soviet soldiers and tens of thousands of civilians killed, turning it into World War II's greatest nightmare. The Siege of Leningrad, lasting 872 days, stands as one of World War II's darkest tragedies. Nearly 1 million civilians starved or froze to death under the Nazi blockade. Operation Bagration in 1944 wiped German forces from Belarus, costing 350,000 men, including 31 generals, one of Hitler's most devastating defeats on the Eastern Front. On May 2, 1945, the Battle of Berlin ended in carnage. Hitler killed himself. 80,000 Soviets died, and roughly 300,000 German soldiers were lost. The atomic bomb dropped on Japan in August 1945 ended World War II, opening a new era defined by nuclear anxiety and unprecedented destructive power. On December 11, 1944, a Sherman advanced through Gaisch near Duren, proof of Allied strength as they broke into Nazi defenses in Germany's North Rhine-Westphalia region. Over Germany, RAF Lancaster bombers rained destruction on Hamburg, turning the city into a firestorm, a grim chapter of the brutal Allied bombing campaign in 1943. In November 1942 at Rukayervi, a Soviet spy faced execution, yet his mocking smile toward the Finnish soldier became one of the war's most chilling moments. On April 17, 1943, a depth charge exploded, destroying U-175 and ending Nazi hopes of breaching a critical Allied convoy in the Atlantic. Manchester, after a bombing raid, lay in ruins, evidence that in World War II, European civilians suffered directly, their cities shattered by relentless air attacks. In the snow-covered mountains, U.S. paratroopers of the 503rd rested in sleeping bags, harsh training that prepared them for real battles across Europe in 1944. In March 1944 at Bougainville, in the Solomon Islands, an American tank pushed forward with infantry, striking back against Japanese forces that had breached their lines the night before. In March 1944 at Bougainville in the Solomon Islands, an American tank pushed forward with infantry, striking back against Japanese forces that had breached their lines the night before. At Scampton, Lincolnshire, on July 22, 1943, the 617 Dambusters crew sat beneath storm clouds, men preparing for one of Britain's most daring bombing missions. On Tinian Island, December 24, 1944, the 55th Seabees prayed in a makeshift chapel, a rare spiritual moment amid the Pacific's relentless violence. Leave 1 if you're still here, 0 if you find the video boring. At El Alamein in September 1942, a German patrol wandered the Egyptian desert, the Gibli horn echoing defiantly amid the brutal North African campaign. In 1945, during the Battle of the Bulge in Ardennes, Alsace, infantry advanced under shell fire, a grim reflection of survival and resolve in World War II's final days. In 1945, during the Battle of the Bulge in Ardennes, Alsace, infantry advanced under shell fire, a grim reflection of survival and resolve in World War II's final days. On March 27, 1945, off Tokishishima near Okinawa, USSLSMR 190 unleashed rockets to clear the way for America's largest Pacific landing. Paris erupted in joy during liberation, crowds cheering and waving at French tanks, a triumphant memory marking the end of Nazi occupation's shadow. On August 25, 1944, Parisian women poured into the streets to greet Allied troops, a rare moment of joy after 4 years of Nazi occupation. Around 1945 in Berchtesgaden, U.S., soldiers stood among the ruins of Hitler's Berghof, a stark reminder that the Nazi dream of dominance had crumbled. The troop ship returning from the Pacific reached New York, and in October 1945, tears of reunion replaced the sounds of battle. President Roosevelt signed the declaration of war against Japan, turning Pearl Harbor's shock into a turning point. On December 8, 1941, America formally entered World War II. In Munich, Hitler stood beside Mussolini with apparent confidence. Yet in June 1940, that German-Italian alliance was only a fleeting moment before the war reversed their fate. In August 1944, Japanese schoolchildren were evacuated from cities, a haunting reminder that even the youngest bore the direct burden of a world at war. An aircraft carrier surged into the Pacific in 1942, carrying America's industrial might and hope to turn the tide across distant islands. In 1943 at Tunisia, soldiers of the 8th Army fired a 5-inch gun 4 miles toward enemy lines, a testament to Allied firepower in the North African campaign. A sailor sliced bread from a shipboard bakery. In November 1942, such simple meals became small comforts amid the turmoil of war at sea. Lieutenant George T. Hartman handed letters to Squadron 84 pilots. In August 1943, words from home gave them strength before each aerial battle.